Grace and peace from our Lord Jesus Christ. This is Sister Liberty, and I'm back with another teaching. So I am excited about this morning's topic because this has been something that I have been thinking about, and I've gotten a chance to see where this has applied in my own personal life throughout the years. And so many times it's necessary to repeat a certain season or to repeat a certain thing throughout our lives in order for us to get what is necessary for us to healthily move forward. So I want to draw a distinction because I want us to understand the difference between having to repeat something in order to healthily move forward and having to repeat something, for a form or for pleasure or for comfort. So let me break that down. Let me explain that a little bit deeper. Sometimes a person can find themselves repeating cycles and repeating patterns and repeating different phases of life to where they went through the same exact thing that they're going through now a whole year ago, or maybe it's a pattern or a cycle that you see repeated every month or every 6 months or every other month. You see it and you like it. You don't see the purpose in breaking that cycle and breaking that pattern. And so there are unhealthy cycles and unhealthy patterns that needs to be broken, that needs to, be split those cycles, those patterns. They need to be split, they need to be cut, they need to be circumcised. You need to be free from certain cycles and certain patterns, because there are certain things that a person repeats that's not good for him. And so it is true that repetition deepens the impact. It is true that if I repeat this thing, then the increase is going to be even more effective. It is true. If I continue smoking, if I continue drinking, I'm repeating that. I'm repeating the intake, then the impact of the effects will increase. It will be greater. And so that is true in a good sense and in a bad sense. And so today we are talking about how sometimes you have to repeat certain seasons. You have to go through certain things again. Sometimes we could feel as though, Lord, again, why am I going through this again? Didn't I just go through something last season or last year or 3 years ago? Why am I going through this again? So me and one of my sisters had a conversation maybe 2 days ago, and we we started laughing and we started going back into memory lane of how we both had to repeat a grade growing up, and we realized now that repeating that grade then was more necessary than we had thought. In those moments, it was embarrassing to have to repeat a grade. I had to repeat the third grade. I had to do that. And in that moment, first of all, that year that I had to repeat that grade, there was no, summer school. There was no summer school. There were no other options or anything of that sort to try to catch up, to move me forward. Like that year, I just had to go through it again. I had to repeat it the following year, I should say. But what's funny is, after that school year of where they kept me back, the following year was when they came out with summer school. So that was funny. But one of the things that me and my sister was talking about was how, it was good that the teacher, those teachers who kept us back, who saw fit that we should repeat this grade. There were things that we did not catch on to. There were things that we may have missed, or just areas where we still needed more time and more patience and more of a development. And those teachers saw fit to withhold us, to keep us back for our own good. Now, in those moments, again, it's shameful, everybody is passing you by. People are going forward with their lives, and you're stuck in this grade. You're stuck having to repeat it. While everyone is moving forward and going forward, you are stuck having to repeat this grade for whatever reason. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think mine's, for me personally, just to give you a little glimpse of, how that was for me, mine's was behavioral. behavioral issues for me. Behavior, it wasn't academic for me necessarily, but it was behavior. That teacher understood that there was something that I needed a little bit more room to grow in, a little bit more help in. And so she saw fit because, again, the teachers, they're the authorities. They're the authorities. You need good authorities. You need healthy, good authorities. They are the ones who, it's almost like a gauge. They can check your gauges as far as where you are and where you should be as far as schooling, teachers, pastoring. Those are the ones who, they know whether or not you need to be promoted. They know whether or not you need to be in this specific role, or if you need to be in this position. They know whether or not if you need some more development, or if you need to grow in certain areas. You need those kinds of people. You don't need bad teachers that just want to pass you just because you had those teachers too growing up who, because they just wanted this child out of their class. And that could have been my story, because again, I was held back because of behavioral issues. And so that teacher could have felt like, listen, I don't want to deal with this child another year. I don't want to deal with Timmy. I don't want to deal with James. I don't want to deal with Rebecca. I want them out of my class. I don't want to go through another school year of, my hair falling out. I want to move this child forward. I'm going to just give this child the passing grade just to move this child forward, but not realizing that up ahead, things are going to be hard for the child, because sometimes it does take for someone else to point out the things that we cannot see in order for us to catch it. And so it's bad when a teacher has to pass this child forward simply because the teacher doesn't want to undergo the process. The teacher doesn't want to have another year with this child because of whatever reasons. And it hurts the child in the future because this child lacked something that was needed for their forward movement. This child lacked something. The teacher wanted to pass the child because, again, this child may have been bad. This child may have been disruptive. This child may have, caused the teacher to repeat herself so many times. And so at this point, she wants to move the child forward, but it's not good for the student. It's not good for the child because there are things that this child really, really needs in order for them to go forward the right way. And so many times teachers will just pass students, but those good teachers are the ones who can see when a child may need to repeat a grade. Those are good teachers. Like, no, this child needs to repeat this grade. This child needs to repeat the third grade or the fourth grade or the fifth grade. This teacher sees things in this child that she knows that if this child just stays here just a little bit longer, this child will do great. This child will do even more better if they repeat the grade. And so sometimes God has to let us go through things again because we missed it the first time, and he sees fit for us to go through that season again, to go through that cycle again so that we get what we need. So repeating a grade is not always bad when it's for your own good. Going through the cycle all over again is not bad when it's for your own good. When it's for the benefit of your spiritual growth and your spiritual health, the Lord sees fit to take you through this season. Sometimes there are things that we miss the first time. Again, areas of our personalities, the different things that are going on in our hearts, the war that's going on the inside can cause you to miss what you're supposed to get the first time around. And instead of God just moving you forward in that condition, God allows you to go through it again. Sometimes we find ourselves repeating those cycles, and it's very good when we're at a place to catch it. Wait a minute. I went through this before. I remember this. I remember feeling these ways. I remember the circumstances being either the exact same or very similar. I remember that. And when you're able to identify it, that's a good place because now you're more aware. You're more sober. You're more attentive. You're paying attention now to what it is that God is trying to get you to see. Maybe God is trying to get you to see what's happening in your heart and for you to take a moment to examine self. Maybe God is trying to get you to slow down because, we're living a fast-paced life. And so everything is fast. Everything is fast. Even our mind is moving so fast. And so when we are going through different circumstances, when we are facing different adversities, sometimes it could be the death of a loved one that you may have to repeat because maybe there was something God was trying to do in your heart that you kept rejecting, or maybe there was something God was trying to birth in you that you kept aborting. And the Lord really desires, because it pleases him when he can bless his sons. Maybe there was something God was really trying to give you because he wanted to bless you, or maybe what he was trying to birth in you was vital for the road ahead. You don't know what the Lord is going to use you for. That's why we have to be a people who's open and willing at all times. And so maybe he was trying to do that work in you because he's doing a perfect work. He's doing a great work. He's doing a everlasting work. Maybe he was trying to do that in you the first time around, and maybe you just did not catch on because you had other things going on in life. Maybe your emotions was blinding you. Maybe, the voices of the enemy, the voices of strangers were, causing you to miss the instructions of God. And so you went through that circumstance and God did not see fit for you to move forward. Maybe you did not get what was vital and critical for you to get in those moments. And so you had to go through another cycle of it, or you had to go through another year of it. Being humble in those moments places you in the best position to have the right heart to be open for what God has been trying to do and is doing. If you have the wrong mindset, if you have the wrong heart, if you're complaining and murmuring, if you're doing all of those things, then you will miss it again and will have to repeat it again. There are some people who have to, and I've witnessed this myself. There are certain individuals who have had to repeat grades multiple times, to a point where they just end up dropping out. Like, man, this person has been in the sixth grade 3 years in a row, 3 years. What is the problem? Sometimes it's laziness. Sometimes it's an unwillingness to put forth effort. I think when I was in middle school, there was one individual, a male, who he was in the sixth grade. First of all, he was in the sixth grade before I came. He was in the sixth grade when I got there. And when I moved on to seventh grade, he was still in the sixth grade. So there was something that this person was unwilling to let go of. One of the things that this person had about him was his features. Very beautiful eyes, very beautiful skin complexion, a nice height. And so he had parts of him that already made him feel as though he was good the way that he was, that, he didn't need to put forth the necessary effort because his beauty is what made him. His beauty is what made him feel confident. So I don't need to show people that I'm smart. My beauty shows that I have brains. My beauty shows that I can do whatever I want to do. And so there were things in his character that made him feel as though he didn't need to put forth the right amount of effort. I don't need to work as hard as these here have to work, because first of all, we can feel as though because we've done it before that we already know how to do this. That's what pride would tell you. I don't need to put forth the necessary work and effort because I already know this. I already know math. I already know reading. I already know, multiplication. That was one of the things that that I remember when I had to repeat the grade. It was so funny because I was so good at multiplication, but it was because I had already gone through the process. And so I was so good at it that I got an award for it when I had to repeat the grade again. I got an award for being the best at multiplication, but it was because I had already gone this way before. It was because I had already had experience in this area before. And so again, repetition is going to deepen the impact, whether that be good or bad. And so because I had already gone through this before, I was so good at it that the effects were really, really good. It got me, it got me some attention. It got me affirmation in that area. And so sometimes if we're not careful, it can make us feel as though, I already know this. I already have gone through this before. I don't need to put forth the necessary effort because I've already gone through this. I've already learned this before you all. And so being the fact that I've already went through the grade, I knew so much that I was really good at it. And my classmates, again, they were very impressed, but many of them didn't know that, no, I had to repeat this grade. That's why I'm smarter than many of you all. That's why, I'm so good at multiplication. No, I had to repeat this grade, but they didn't know that. And so sometimes if we're not careful, pride can make us feel as though, I don't need to put forth that amount of effort. I don't need to work as hard as the rest of them because I already know this. And so we don't want to be prideful in a sense where we have to repeat it again and everybody is bypassing us. No, we need to be the kind of people who, first of all, you have to pay attention to the instructions God is giving you. Sometimes you do have to slow down. Sometimes the Lord has to place a stumbling block in many of our lives to get us to slow down. He's trying to get your attention. He did that with Cain. I'm trying to get your attention. There's a reason why you're being rejected right now. There's a reason why there's a stumbling block in your way. There's a reason why you can't seem to go up the ladder. You can't seem to climb up the mountain. Every time you try to put forth your hand, you come back down. There's something that you're overlooking. There's something that you're missing. Yeah, there's a whole little piece of the rock coming out of the mountain that you keep overlooking and you wonder why you keep going back down. Pay attention. Slow down. Consider. Solomon says, in the day of prosperity, I think he says it like that, rejoice. But in the day of adversity, you need to consider if most of you actually slow down and you begin to consider what's happening in my life right now, because most of you do not associate your sufferings with your bad decisions. Let me break that down for you. Many times when you are going through bad things, let's say you keep losing your keys physically. You keep losing your keys. You keep locking your keys in the door. You have a flat tire. You keep getting pulled over by the police every time you step out of the house. You're always late. You're always rushing. You're catching all of the red lights. And so you're angry. You're frustrated. You're flustered. And so you make bad decisions. You may run the red light. You may speed in the school zone. You may slowly kind of do a semi-stop at the stop signs because you're on a run. You're going and you keep getting tickets. You keep getting tickets, or you're spilling your coffee, or you're being clocked in late for work. And so it's being marked against you. It's adding up points against you. And so it seems as though things have gone from bad to worse. Your world is falling apart. Your morning is falling apart. You got in a car accident, or they got in a car accident, traffic jam, just all kinds of things. And if you just stop for a moment and consider, what is God trying to do right now? Why am I always late to work? Why am I always locking my keys in my car? Why am I always getting pulled over by the police? Why am I always starting my morning off on the wrong note or the wrong foot? What is God trying to do? If you just slow down for a moment and consider what's happening in your life, then you won't have to repeat it. It won't have to be a cycle. It won't have to be a pattern. If you just catch on to what God is trying to do, because many people don't connect the fact that their sufferings is attached to the bad decisions. Why am I going through this? Why am I suffering right now? I'm a good person. Most of the time, we feel like we're a good person. And so we feel as though we should not be going through bad things. Why did I just get a ticket? Why did they mark me late at work? Why did they write me off on a formal warning? Why did they fire me? I'm trying to do better with my life. I thought I was headed in the right direction. And God is saying, if you just slow down and pay attention to the signs, then you can know what I'm trying to do right now in your life. Yeah, I'm trying to give you something. I'm trying to prevent you from falling into something bad. Many times the Lord tries to save us from ourselves, but we're moving so fast that we miss the signs and we miss the warnings of the danger up ahead. God is saying, I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to prevent you from falling into something very badly, but you won't slow down. You won't take heed. You won't stop for just a moment. You won't pay attention to the signs. And so sometimes God has to allow us to feel some pain and feel some affliction to our bodies, feel some infirmities for us to actually slow down and to consider him, to acknowledge him. Yeah. Many times, most people, they do not associate their sufferings and their pains with their decisions. You don't realize that the fact that your light bill is so high you can't pay it, so they cut your lights off. You don't realize, why they're threatening to repo your car. You're working 2 or 3 jobs and you're still not making ends meet. You're struggling still. You're behind on rent. All of these different things are happening, and the Lord is saying, yeah, I'm trying to teach you something. I'm trying to get your attention. You don't realize why you keep losing loved ones. It seems like everyone in your family, everyone that is dying. things are just going wrong in your relationships. You can't seem to keep a man. You can't seem to keep a woman. Things are just going bad. And you get angry with God because you feel as though things shouldn't be this way. Things shouldn't be so hard. Life shouldn't be so hard. Life shouldn't be messed up. I'm tired of getting pulled over by the police. I'm tired of, things not working out, me losing money. Man, I just lost $20. $20 fell out of my wallet. It seems as though, life is just hard. Things are bad. Maybe it's luck. Maybe you feel as though maybe I just have bad luck. Maybe, life, all kinds of things. Maybe you feel as though God is after you. Maybe you feel as though the devil is after you. The devil is always busy and God is saying, the real problem is just you. If you just slow down, if you just consider what is happening right now, am I out of the will of God? Is God trying to get my attention? Am I wrong? Am I a bad person? It takes a humble person to acknowledge that they're a bad person. Most people already feel like they're good the way that they are. Most people just feel as though it's karma. Maybe I did something before as to why I'm going through what I'm going through. Most people are not going to associate the fact that the reason why they're going through what they're going through is simple. God is trying to get their attention. It's simple. But if you're moving so fast, if you're busy with life, if you're busy focusing on career, if you're busy focusing on business, if you're busy focusing on relationship, then you're going to miss and you're going to overlook where God is trying to call you. You're going to miss and overlook the fact where God is trying to do a deep work in your heart. No, I'm actually trying to make room to heal you. But if you slow down and you can see that I'm trying to work, you can see that I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to break you. I'm trying to make you. I'm trying to make you whole. I'm trying to heal you. I'm trying to promote you. Yeah, the Lord wants us to be there on graduation day on time. But if we are positioning ourselves to have to repeat things on purpose, there are times where you just need to repeat things. And then there are times where you're repeating things simply because you don't want to put forth the necessary effort. Again, I told you how that one individual had to repeat the 6th grade 3 times. Unnecessary. Sometimes it's good that the teacher has to keep you back because you need to catch on. You need to take in everything in order to go forward. The teacher is saying, I can't move you forward in this condition, in this state. You're going to make me look bad because when you go into the next teacher's class, she's going to wonder or he's going to wonder who moved you forward in this state and in this condition. It's obvious that there are still things you need to learn and you need to go back to the grade before. That teacher is going to wonder who was the teacher that moved you forward, because obviously they were a bad teacher. If they overlook these areas, these fundamental areas, the fact that you can't add up 2 plus 2, the fact that you can't subtract 3 from 1, those are fundamental areas. You need to go back and repeat the grade. That's necessary. That's for your own good. And so looking back now, I am grateful at the fact that whatever teacher it was, I don't know who she was, she made me repeat a grade. In those moments, it was embarrassing, but you ought to be glad that you had to go through it again so that you catch what you missed. There were things that you missed. God knows what we need and what we need. It'd be nice if God gave us everything that we wanted when we wanted, but we would be some bad and ungrateful people if God gave us whatever we prayed for. Sometimes my 9-year-old son tells me, Mom, I prayed to God for this and he didn't do it. And I said, that's because God knows what's good for you. Just like me, I'm not going to give you ice cream for breakfast and cookies for breakfast. Why? Because I know what's good for you as a good parent. God is a good father. The teacher, she's a good teacher. The pastor, he's a good pastor. He's not going to just promote you just because you have the gift and you have the talent and you have the anointing on you. Yeah, just because you can sing doesn't mean that you should just have this position just because. Just because you're good at teaching, you're good at prophesying, and you're good at praying, you can pray the heavens down, you can get a prayer through. It does not mean that you should just be in that role. There are areas that you and I have to grow in, and sometimes we have to be at a place for a certain time and for a season to get what we need so that when we move forward in a healthy way, meaning we begin to thrive. Now that you're in this role, you've been promoted, you've gone to the next grade level, you are more than ready. You are more than developed. You are thriving. You are excelling. You are succeeding. You need that kind of reputation that when God promotes you, it was worth you being moved up. It was worth you going forward. It was worth him promoting you and putting you in that position. So now you're going to thrive. Now you're going to shine as the Spirit of God wants you to shine. Why? Because you went through the necessary process. You went through the necessary training. No, I needed to undergo this training. And maybe it took me a little longer than others. This is why it's important that you not compare yourselves, because you don't know what God is doing with each individual. With this person, God may see fit to move them forward. But with you may need to stay here a little bit longer. But God, I don't want to stay here. I want to move forward like everybody else. I want to be accepted like everyone else. The Lord told Cain, if you do right, if you do what is necessary, and if you do what is required, then you will be accepted and you will be promoted. You will be promoted like Abel was promoted. But you got to make the necessary shifts on the inside, not just on the outside. You got to shift on the inside. Things on the inside have to align. Your agreement with God has to align. You got to agree with what God is saying about you. You got to agree with what he's pointing out in your heart. He has to circumcise. The Lord was trying to circumcise Cain. You have to undergo circumcision. But if you're unwilling to, then you're going to abort the process and you're not going to get what you need in order to go forward. Do you know you cannot go forward? You cannot be on track for graduation if you are missing those important areas. They will not let you graduate. You may say, but I'll walk across the stage. Yeah, you'll walk across the stage in dishonor because you won't be getting a diploma. You'll be getting a certificate of completion. But what good is that? I don't want a barely made it. I don't want you did not make it. I want to know that everything that I'm doing is with purpose and that it's not in vain. I want to know that everything that I'm doing is positioning me for promotion, ultimate promotion. When I hear the words, well done, my good and faithful servant, that's graduation day for me. That's the day where I will be graduating, when I hear the words, well done, my good and faithful servant. I'm getting tongue twisted. I don't have my coffee like I need to. Yeah, I want that to be my life. I want to know that everything that I'm doing is not in vain, but that is with purpose. And wherever God has me, I need to take joy in the process that I'm undergoing. I need to have a heart of gratitude. I need to have a heart that's open. I don't need to have a heart that's mad that it wasn't me that got chosen for the role or for the position. There were reasons why as to why you did not get picked. Whenever you apply for, those higher jobs, those jobs that are more professional, they pick people based on certain criteria. You did not meet certain criteria or certain things that they were looking for. They're looking for certain things and you did not meet them. In those moments, you have to consider, why not? Why were I not chosen? Am I underdeveloped? Am I unfit? Am I unqualified? If you are, the answer is probably yes if you were not chosen, but that's an opportunity to begin to examine self. Well, what are they looking for? What is God looking for when he sees me? He's looking for a heart that's after his. He's looking for a pure heart. His word says, and I think Jesus said it in Matthew 5, that only the pure in heart are going to see him. He's looking for a heart that is perfect towards his. He's looking for submission and commitment and a covenant. He's looking for marriage. He's looking for humility. He's not looking for those that already think that they don't have to put forth any kind of effort or put in any kind of work. Faith without works is dead. And so you can't think just because you're saved that you don't have to do anything. You don't show up to school and say, well, I showed up to school, and so why do I have to do the work? Why do I have to do the curriculum? Being that I already repeated this grade, I already know how the work goes, how the work goes. I already know the answers. That's good that you know the answers, Tommy or Billy. That's good that you know the work. But if you don't do any of it, then you won't be able to go to the next grade level. That's good that you know how this class operates. You know what's going to be taught because you're at the same school. All your friends are waving at you as they're going, on their way in the grade above you, and you're in the same grade. You're embarrassed, but you're prideful too because a part of you is glad to be here because as far as you're concerned, the school year is going to be great for you. The school year is going to be easy for you because you already know the work. And so you're going to not put forth effort because you're going to feel as though you don't need to. And so you don't show up to school and say, well, I showed up. I showed up. That should be good enough. I'm on your roster, right, as present, right? I'm on your roster as here, right? That should be good enough. Why should I put forth any work? That's the same way in the kingdom. Paul says, show me your works without faith. Or I think he says, show me your faith without works, and I'll show you my works, or I'll show you my faith with works. He says faith without works is dead. You have to put forth the right amount of effort and the right amount of work in order to go forward, regardless of whether or not it may come easy to you, regardless whether or not you may know it. You have to put forth work in order to go forward. I'm trying to remember where that is, where he says faith without works. I think I just read it yesterday, but the point that I'm making is, as saved people, as believers, we have to implement the necessary work in order to go to the next level. It's a scary thing when the Lord has given you over to yourself. He's given you over to your own lusts, your own desires, a reprobate mind where you think that you are good where you are and that you don't see any reason or the need to put forth effort or to put forth any work, because as far as you're concerned, you're okay the way that you are, and that God accepts you. And God is saying, I don't even speak to this person because this person is so prideful. This person is full of them that they can't see the areas in their hearts that I'm pointing out. They keep overlooking it because they don't think that they need to change. People who think and feels as though they don't need to change are people who stays the same for years. They stay the same for years because they don't think that they need to change. They don't think that they need to shift. They don't think that there are parts of them that are not like God. There are parts of you that are not like God, that God wants to change, that God wants to highlight and point out. God wants to highlight and point out the pride in your heart. He wants to highlight and point out the bitterness and the anger and the frustration and the lust and the perversion and the confusion and the unbelief and the doubt. Yeah, and the manipulation and the witchcraft. He wants to point that out. The hurt and the pain and the unforgiveness. He wants to point that out. The insecurities and the isolation and the depression and the anxiety and the discouragement. He wants to point those things out. And the battle of the mind, he wants to point those things out. So many times he'll do that through situations. Why does God allow us to go through things throughout this life? Sometimes it can seem like it's so hard. Sometimes it can seem like, man, that's just my luck, and we don't believe in luck, but I'm just letting you know how the people of the world thinks. Most will say, man, I'm just a victim of bad luck. Things are not working out for me. That's just my luck. But I'm here to tell you that there is a God and that he is in control and that he does try to get our attention through the different things that we face throughout our lives, throughout our day even. He's trying to get your attention. There's a reason why you're going through what you're going through. Listen. Nothing is by accident. Nothing is by coincidence. Nothing is by mistake. Things don't just happen. Things don't just happen. Your world is teaching you that things just happen. That's not true. There's a purpose and a reason behind every single thing that you and I face. And it's our job to figure out, why did this happen? Why did this happen to me? You don't just say, well, that's life. C'est la vie. That's a French word for that's life, meaning things just happen. That's life. You win some, you lose some, you go through things, you fall on hard times and you get back up. We fall down and get back up. That's just life. That's just life. Your world is teaching you that, bad things, happen to everybody, and they're not highlighting or connecting the fact that the reason why these things are happening to these people here is because of these bad decisions over here. When you walk into the stores and you see the magazines and you see on the front cover what's happening in that person's life, the world understands that, bad things happen. And they happen when we do bad. I mean, things happen to the best of us too, but there's a reason for that. That's why we got to consider, because it may not be all the time that you're doing something bad. When you are saved, Christian, born again, it's not all the time that, the reason why you're going through this bad thing over here is because you did something bad. Sometimes it's some adversity. Sometimes God is trying to take us through a fiery season to refine us and to impart some things. So it's not all the time that, we've done something bad, but that's why we got to consider and figure out whether or not we did or we didn't. Wait a minute, did I do something bad? You got to consider, because again, it's not all the time that you did do something bad or that you're in sin or that you're out of the will. That's not always true. That is not true. There's times where the Lord will allow me to experience something, and it's not because I'm in sin. It's not because I'm doing anything bad. It's simply because God is trying to prepare me for something that he's about to do, or God wants to impart something, or he wants to expand my heart. And I got to be open and available for that. I have to remain sober, and I got to remain vigilant. I have to be the kind of person who's in position and who stays in position for whatever God wants to do. But for the rest of the majority, you have to begin to consider, why is God allowing you to repeat these cycles? Why is God taking you through this season again? What is it that God wants you to get? What is it that God is trying to get you to take hold of? What is it that God is trying to get you to pay attention to? What is it in your heart that God is highlighting? If you overlook that the second time, then you'll repeat the grade. You'll repeat it. Yeah, you'll repeat this again. And if it gets to a point where you're just unwilling to address it, then it'll just become a part of your life, to where you will be one of those who say, I always go through this. It's a cycle. It's just a cycle. Sometimes people go through different things in their bodies that's a repeated cycle, and they don't realize that that's a result of a curse. That's a result of a curse. There are curses in your bloodline that causes you to go through different cycles, that comes in the form of a sickness or a disease or infirmities. When you have your time of womanhood, when your woman is upon you, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? You're menstrual. When that time comes upon you, there are different things that happen with that. You have to begin to consider, why is this happening? Sometimes we just accept things as what they are, as normal. No, that's just normal. That's just life. Everybody goes through things. Everybody has seasons where they fall on hard times. And so this is just my season. I'm a Job. This is just my season. Yeah, you just think things just happen. Like, you just take it for what it is, and you don't realize that you live in a cursed world. You live in a cursed world. You live in a fallen world. In your sinful condition, you are a bad person. Yeah, the enemy, he is as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. He's after you. He's after you. Everything is against you in your pursuit after God. Your world doesn't want you to pursue God. The devil doesn't want you to pursue God. Even your very soul, your own soul doesn't want you to pursue God. Your soul already feels as though it doesn't take all of that. You don't need to do that. That's just life. Bad things happen to everyone. You'll begin to lie to yourself. The devil will begin to lie to you and tell you that bad things happen to everyone, good and bad. Good things or bad things happen to good people too. And so don't take it personal. Don't take it to heart. Don't think on it too much. Just brush it off. Just go have a drink. Go have a drink and it'll all go away. Go smoke something and it'll all go away. Go find somebody to fornicate with and it'll all go away. Go find a place to go and mingle at. It'll all go away. Go find you someone to mingle with. It'll go away. It'll go away. It'll fall off. Yeah. Your society is trying to teach you how to cope with your bad or the results of your bad decisions. You made this bad decision over here. These are the results or the consequences of it. And you want to avoid consequence. You want to avoid the effects. And so your society is setting up things for you to do that. Hey, you had an accident over here where you got her pregnant, or you were the one who got pregnant. And so you want to go and get an abortion. You want to go and cover it up. Your society has resources for you. Your society has options for you to where you can go and cover it up. And God is on the other hand trying to get your attention. But your society is going to say, just cover it up. Yeah, you got AIDS, you got STDs because you fornicated. Well, you can go and you can buy some over-the-counter medication. You can go and you can buy some things to help you tame and control your effects, your symptoms, so that nobody knows that you got a STD. What is it? A STD and AIDS. Yeah, your society is teaching you to cover up things, and God is saying you need to acknowledge you're wrong. God is saying, I'm trying to get your attention. I let you get this disease because, again, God is in control over everything. God is in control over the fact that you got pregnant. God is in control over the fact that you got that STD. God is in control over the fact that you got pulled over by the police. God is in control. So why did God allow that to happen to you? Have you stopped and considered? The world is telling you that, that's just life. Everybody goes through something. It's okay. Brush shit off. It's okay. Go smoke. Go drink. Go fornicate. Go masturbate. Go find something to watch on TV, man. Man, you just look like you just need a couple drinks. Let's go to the bar. Let's go to happy hour. Let's go to happy hour because you're down and you need some excitement in your life. Let's go to a strip club because you need some excitement in your life. You're miserable. You're down. You've fallen on hard times. Things just seem to not be going well for you. They're cutting your hours back at work, or maybe you lost out on a big investment. Maybe you lost out on money. You invested in some stocks, and so maybe things didn't work out for you. And so you're falling on hard times, overlooking the fact that it's God really that's the one causing this in your life. It's not always the devil. It's not always the devil. Many times it is God, because the devil can't do anything without God's permission. So really it's God that's doing all of this or allowing all of this. But what is God trying to do? What is God trying to tell you? What is God trying to speak to you? Have you stopped and considered? Because you can choose to make it out of this grade one time, to where you don't have to repeat it. Or you could be the kind of a person who's always going through the repeated cycles. Yeah, it's going to deepen the impact, but that's in a good or a bad way. It can deepen the impact in a good way where it leaves good effects, or it can deepen the impact in a bad way where it's causing you to become more lazy. It's causing you to feel more entitled. Yeah, this person keeps going through this cycle, but it's not making them any better. It's making them more lazy. It's making them feel more weak. It's making them more prideful. And so, yeah, the repetition is going to deepen the impact either way. Again, if you continue to smoke, then the impact of that is your lungs, becoming bad. Yeah, that impact, because you did it so much, the effects of it's going to be bad for you. You will have a hard time breathing. You will have shortness of breath. You will have lung cancer. Yeah, the impact is going to be the same. The more I hit this table with a hammer, it's going to break. Yeah, the more I apply pressure over here, something is going to happen. That's good or bad. The more I do this over here, something is going to happen. Yeah, something is going to happen. But what happens when I can catch on to what I need to take away from this lesson or this experience right here? God is trying to get me to learn something. God is saying, hey, pay attention. I'm trying to get you to catch on to something. I'm trying to teach you something right now. Pay attention. Slow down for a moment. If most people just slow down in their lives, they're moving so fast. If they just slow down, they could save themselves a lot of heartache. No, you keep going through this because of your pride. You keep going through this because you're stubborn. You don't see that? You don't see that you really are the issue. You're the problem. You don't see that you're the reason why you're going through this in your life. Everybody wants to point the finger. They want to point the finger at the man upstairs. Folks want to be mad at God, but you don't realize that you're the problem. You are the reason why you're in this mess, because you made these decisions over here. But your world is teaching you that you're not the problem. Your world is teaching you that you can make bad decisions and you never have to be to blame for it. Blame God. God is the one who made all of this. God is the reason. God is the one to blame. It's God's fault. The fact that you lost your mother, the fact that you lost your grandmother who was sick, God could have saved her. Yeah, your society is wanting you to look at God as the enemy. That's what Satan did in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. He got Eve to look at God as the enemy. God is withholding from you. God is withholding from you. God doesn't want you to be like him. God is the problem. God is the answer in the problem. Be mad at God. Be angry at God. God is the reason why you keep locking your keys in the car. God is the reason why you keep getting pulled over by the police and your tickets are just piling up. And so you owe so much, you can't pay it now. God is the reason why. Yeah, it's God's fault. Yeah, that's what the world is teaching you. That's what Satan wants you to believe. That's what's in you, in your sinful state. The fact that you want to believe that God is not good. That's what we're fighting against. And God is saying, if you just slow down, I'm actually trying to save you. if you just take a moment to consider, why did this happen to you? Why do I keep getting flat tires? Why do I keep losing my keys? God is trying to get you to pay attention. He's trying to get you to learn something, but most people miss the lesson and they got to repeat the lesson again. Oh, this person didn't get it. So they'll be going through another year of this same suffering. They'll be going through another year of heartache and hardship because they didn't get it. Man, life is just hard. So that's why I drink myself to death. Life is hard. That's why I smoke. That's why I smoke cigarettes, because life is hard and I'm trying to escape reality. Why do you think people smoke? Why do you think people try to find different ways to cope with life? Life is hard. People are going through hard times out there. I know you come on social media and everybody looks happy, but people are going through things. That's why they have to take pills to go to sleep, because many of them, they can't sleep. Many of them are being tortured and tormented by demons and unclean spirits because things are hard for them. And God is saying, if you just consider what I'm doing in your life, then all of this can go away. All of this can go, all of your pain and your suffering, your traumatic experience, the fact that you keep going through the same cycle, all of this can go away if you just consider, if you just yield. Cain, if you do right, then you will be accepted. But if you choose not to do right, sin lies at the door and he's going to eat you for lunch and dinner and breakfast. Sin lies at the door. He's waiting for you. Something on the other side is waiting for you if you choose to not align. If you choose to not agree, then something else will come after you. Something else will come for you. Yeah. If you continue to have victim's mentality and feel as though, but God, my life was hard. That's why I do what I do. That's why I feel as though nobody can love me. That's why, I made the kind of decisions that I made because I didn't have my father. I made the kind of decisions that I made because my mom had me while she was in prison. Yeah, I make the kind of decisions that I make because my mom was abusive. She was never home. She put me up for adoption. I was adopted, God. My life is hard. My life is hard. And God is saying, you don't know that I did all of this for my glory. I took you through all of this. I allowed you to go through everything that you went through in your childhood, in your teens, up until your young adulthood. I did all of this for my glory. You didn't know that, though. I was doing something greater in you. You just overlooked the lessons. You overlooked the fact that was really me. And although you went through all of those things, although life was hard, I was there with you the whole time. The situation was supposed to be worse, but I was there the whole time. Yeah, when I think back to certain points in my childhood, I am reminded that, man, God was there the whole time. In those moments, I couldn't see that. But when I think back to those moments where I knew the situation should have been worse, this situation should have turned out a lot more worse. But I know that even in those moments of me being in sin, even in those moments where me being in a household where God, the Spirit of God was not present, God was still there. God was still with me. And so he reminds me of those moments to let me know that I took you through all of this for my glory. Because look at what I've made you now. Look at what God is wanting to do in your lives. Many of you overlook at what God is trying to do with you because you're so angry at God because of your bad decisions. Yeah. And God is saying, if you just go through the process, then you won't have to repeat. If you just go, because again, the repeating is going to deepen the impact, good or bad. If God takes me through this and I need to, because again, sometimes you just need to repeat the third grade. Sometimes you just need to repeat the fourth grade for your own good. Those moments are good. Those moments are good for you because there's something that you need to learn. There's something that you need to grasp hold of that God is wanting you to get for whatever purposes. So those moments are good. God is saying it's for your own good. It's for your own good. I'm taking you through this season again because there's something that you need. Maybe you're underdeveloped. Maybe you're still immature in that area. Maybe you're still holding on to some unforgiveness. And the Lord is saying, I got to break this off of you so that I can make room in your heart to plant some seeds, to plant some trees, to plant some new things. I'm trying to position you in a way where your fallow ground is broken up, but you got to undergo the process. You got to repeat. You got to repeat. So sometimes it's necessary to repeat in order to healthily move forward. Because when you go through this again, you're going to nail it. When you go through this again, you're going to thrive. You're going to be successful. That when God does promote you, he's going to make you to shine. You're going to be like pure gold. You're going to be like a diamond. Yeah, and it's going to be all for his glory. Your light is going to shine and it's going to draw men unto you for the glory of God. And it was all because you stopped and you yielded. It was all because you were willing to undergo the process. Aren't you glad you went through it a second time, although people were passing you by? That's okay. That's okay that others are going to pass you by, but you're where you need to be. You're where you need to be. You're on track. But listen, though, I know that they may be ahead of me, but I'm on track for promotion. I'm on track for graduation. That's all that matters. The fact that I arrive on time to my destination, that's all that matters. Yeah, I'm on track for graduation. As long as I finish, that's all that matters. That is all that matters. That's why we don't compare ourselves to others in the body in that sense. I'm not comparing myself, but Lord, that person is further than me. It's okay. You are where you need to be. You are on track, and that's all that matters. That is all that matters. That's all that matters. And so that is the message. Understanding that there are times where the Lord will have to take us through a season again, but we can't let that be a common thing. We can't let it just become a part of us. The fact that we're going through the same seasons year after year. You've been in the faith for 10 years and you're still going through the same thing. That's a problem. So we're not talking about being lazy and feeling entitled and feeling like as though God owes us. We're talking about getting what we need to get the first time around. And if necessary, we get it the second time around. Whatever it's going to take for you to make it in, you got to do it at all costs, whatever it takes. If I got to repeat the second grade one more time, so be it. If it's going to get me to where I need to be, then I'm willing to humble myself, show up to school every day. Even though I know the work, I'm going to show up to the second grade and I'm going to do my work because I need to get what I missed last school year in the second grade. I'm going to get what I need this time around because I want to make it to the next level. When the door to promotion opens, I want to be ready and I want to be in position. I want to be ready. I want to be in position. I want to make sure that I am developed at the rate that I need to be. No, this person should be in the third grade right now. You're 10 years old, still in the third grade. You should be further along. So there are times where we should be further along. And then there are times where we are right where we need to be. Oh, no, I'm right where I need to be. I'm right on track. I'm right on time. We got to know. We got to consider. We got to consider. And so may the Spirit of God, may He grant you the ears to hear this message and a heart to understand it in Jesus' name. God bless you.